If you are still doing outreach manually by having 10 different CSV files, 5 different outbound tools and data sitting in silos, whereas you can just automate this entire process from top to bottom by building yourself an AI cold email pipeline. All of this is going to be done completely through Claude Code without you knowing anything about GTM, just by using your simple prompts. So before I show you how you can set up this entire GTM folder structure, let me show you one quick example. As you might know, I have one software platform named Tilted, which is a 3D animation software, and we want to build an outreach campaign for that. So our first step is going to build the company lead list by using Claude Code. Let's head over to Claude Code and enter our first prompt. We want to build the lead list for our Tilted campaign, which is going to target video editing agencies. Obviously, you will replace your ICP or ideal customer profile that you are going after, and we are going to mention the location and the employee head count. It has started with the step number 1, which is targeting our exact ICP video editing agencies in USA. It has pulled out all the lead lists from Apollo by using Apollo MCP, and here is our CSV file. In this example, I am just using file lead as an example to show you quickly. So we have the company name, their domain and the social media profiles. All of this data has been fetched from Apollo. Now it's time to run ICP scoring in order to make sure that the companies that we want to reach out are our actually ideal fit for our business offer or service. So we already have our ICP rubric that will score all of these companies into multiple tiers. Yes, let's apply step number 2, which is ICP scoring. Here it is not just having those if and else conditions, it is actually performing web research on all of these companies, plus analyzing all the multi-data points that we have got from Apollo and then scoring these companies. We have the reasoning for all of these real 5 datas so that you can see how it has judged or scored all of these 5 companies. And don't worry, all of these data points is going to be stored inside CSV files automatically. Now we have our ICP scoring done with real data. So we have our tier number 1, and last 3 companies have tier number 2. So definitely we want to reach out to only tier number 1 companies because quality of lead matters every single time over quantity. So yes, definitely we want to reach out to only tier number 1 companies, and we want to find decision makers working at those companies. So our step number 2 is going to be finding decision makers and get their verified emails and phone numbers. Again, we are going to call Apollo MCP to get that data. Our tier number company were these 2. So right now it is finding decision makers and their verified emails. Awesome, it has done with its enrichment, and you can see the employee count. In the first company it is 85 and in the next 83. So we have the decision makers, their title, and not to forget our prospects LinkedIn profile. Now it's time to write hyper-personalized copies for each of our prospect, since we have all of these data, and we are going to use our cold email frameworks to do that. Yes, as you can see, our step number 3 is to create personalized sequence for each of our individual prospects by using our own cold email framework copies that we like. So we have added all of those frameworks inside our .md file that is going to be used by Claude Code. So let's write our personalized cold email sequence. I already have the framework ready, and it will use all the merge text and variable text to make sure that our copy is hyper personalized. And there we go, the sequence is written for both of our contexts. So we are following 4-step sequence on day 1, day 3, day 7, day 12. All of these copies plus different variations, email subject line, everything is written by Claude Code. Plus you will also see a little preview of what it has written inside our cold email copies. Again, I know you can write way better copies than this. This is not a masterclass on how to write the best cold email copies. This is the masterclass on how you can set up your entire AI cold email campaign pipeline fully automated by Claude Code just by using simple prompts. Once we are done generating our copies, it's time to load all of our prospect, their data, our cold email copy inside our sequencer. In this example, I am using Saleshandy, but feel free to use Smart Lead instantly, and this workflow will work with any cold email tool whatsoever. Yes, so we want to deploy this inside our Saleshandy sequence. As you can see, it is loading all of our prospects into first of all Saleshandy by adding their contacts, verified emails, and then adding our cold email copies with subject line, different variations, and merge text. Awesome, our prospect is added inside our cold email sequence name Tilted Webinar Launch. So let's head over to Saleshandy. Let's open our Tilted Webinar Launch campaign. Here is the dashboard of our campaign with our step 1, step 2, step 3 at specific dates that we have mentioned. Let's open our copy. And as you can see, all of those merge text have been successfully added inside our copy. So all of this merged text will be replaced to the first name, the company name, and all of the data points that we have of our prospect. So the name of our prospect is Marcus, and he is working at Pixelcraft Studio. So it will automatically be replaced with the company and the first name. Marcus, your team is editing screen recording the hard way. We have built Tilted, which can edit 3D animation videos in 4K in just under 30 seconds. Now let's open content guide, and all of these parameters are in sweet spot or good to go, which means that our cold email copy is optimized to have maximum deliverability. In the same fashion, you can manage your entire cold email infrastructure by using Claude Code and Maildoso API key. That way you can manage and run your entire cold email pipeline just by using your simple prompts. Here we have done with the step number 1, which is building the lead list, then scoring all of these companies, finding decision makers, generating personalized copies, adding them to our sequencer, and managing our entire cold email infrastructure just by using Claude Code. But the meat of the sandwich is this Claude Code folder structure that we have made so that all of our campaigns will be following the same checklist, patterns, and the output that we want. Obviously, Claude Code is going to be big here because it is going to be acting as a brain of your campaign. Then we have our scoring criteria, all of the API documentations, copy frameworks that we want to use in our cold email campaigns, and last but not least, our output campaign examples so that it can have an understanding of what successful campaigns look like. Alright, now the main video starts. I will show you everything from scratch, how you can set up your Claude.md file, all of these configurations, and your scoring metrics. So let's get started. First of all, we will create an empty folder. Let's name this as AI Cold Email Campaign with Claude Code. Let's open that. Here the first thing you need to set up is Claude.md file, which is going to be brain of your campaign. Let me open this file. Campaign brain for my particular offer, which is in my example SaaS outbound. Obviously it is going to be different with your service, business, or offer. Then we have the product description, what you are actually selling, then how it is going to perform this entire campaign or enrichment. This is our pipeline and run in this order. First of all, we need to find companies and then apply our scoring rubrics that we have stored inside this file and get the output stored inside a CSV file. Obviously, in each and every single step, we want to store data in a CSV. In case we want to resume this project in somewhere future, or we want to reuse this data, we can always do. Then the next step is going to be finding contacts or decision makers working at those companies that we want to work with, or basically tier 1 companies. After that, we want to write personalized copies using our copy frameworks that we have stored in this file. And last but not least, add all of this prospect with their contact information and email copies inside our sequencer. In this example, I am using Saleshandy, but feel free to use SmartLead instantly or any tool that you're currently using. Now, obviously, I'm not going to read each and every single line in this entire Claude.md file, but make sure that you have added all of your contexts, business offers, what you're actually solving, pain points, how you like to process everything. Just dump that into Claude.md file, but make sure that it is not overriding 200 lines. Otherwise, it is just going to ignore everything in that Claude.md file. Now the reason I'm doing everything from scratch is because you can follow me step by step as this video goes. So you can also create a totally blank folder and start creating your Claude.md file for your project. So let's open this folder inside our Claude Code. Let's copy the path. And in case you want to have this, just press Option and the path will be automatically visible. Press Option inside your Mac OS keyboard. Then copy this path. Give it to Claude Code, and now start feeding all of your business offer, contact, service, everything inside this Claude chat so that it will automatically create a Claude.md file inside your folder. In order to create your Claude.md file, you have to type /init. But if you don't have that time to create everything from scratch and follow along with me, don't worry. I have this entire GitHub repo where all of the folder structures, copy formats, your Claude.md file templates, how to create offers, everything is added inside this GitHub repo. So all you need to do is just copy this and paste it inside your Claude Code and just tell it to clone this GitHub repo and then fill in your business detail, offer context, and service and pricing inside your Claude chat, and it will automatically modify this entire project according to your campaigns. So to get this GitHub repo, you will easily find this completely for free inside my school community. So make sure to check it out. Awesome, it is done creating our CLAUDE.md file in our new project. Before we move on to the next steps, reaching our scoring criteria and copy frameworks, we want to focus on which tools that you are already using inside your workflow. Obviously, you don't have to stick with any particular tools I am showing you. For example, we are using Apollo and Saleshandy as an example and Maildoso as our cold email campaign infrastructure, but feel free to use any tool stack that you are currently using. And yes, this workflow will run just the same as the current tech stack that you have. But to give you my preference for enriching and data, you can use Apollo as it is the world #1 AI B2B SaaS platform for a next outreach campaign. Alright, coming back to our folder structure, we are done creating our CLAUDE.md file, which is going to be brain of your whole campaign. It will know your flows, brand, offer and business. And the best part is it is going to load at start of every single session so that you don't have to re-explain your project every single time. And that's why we create CLAUDE.md file to manage our entire campaign. Now the next step is setting up Apollo to manage our enrichment and data pipeline. So let's head over to apollo.io and log in or sign up with your account. And yes, it's completely free to get started with. Awesome, here is our beautiful Apollo dashboard where we have our enrichment section, engage section, tools, automation and everything. But in order to connect inside our Claude Code, we need our Apollo API key. So head over to admin settings at the bottom left, click on integrations. That will pop up this new developer hub where we need to create our API key. Let's name this as Claude session and click on create an API key. Now copy that and then give it to Claude Code and it will add our API key to .env file. Now in the same fashion, we want to get our cold email API key. So head over to saleshandy.com, click on settings. Let's head over to API key. Let's create new one. Let's name this as again Claude session. Copy your API key and feed that to Claude Code. So to summarize, we are done with our CLAUDE.md file and the tool selection and all of these credentials. Now it's time to measure how we are going to judge all of these companies that we are going to get from Apollo. And that's why we need to create a criteria or a scoring rubrics for our outreach campaign. So let me open this file so that you will understand how you can create your own scoring framework for your campaign. So in my niche of video editing software tool, my ICP or ideal customer profile will be most likely video editing agencies. So we have our brief description of our product, and here we have our scoring criteria. And the company leads that will get the most number of points will have the TN number 1 index. In a similar fashion, TN number 2 and TN number 3. Obviously, you don't have to write anything on your own. You just have to describe what type of TL levels you want, what type of clients, dream clients that you want to work with. Either it can be agency or a B2B business or even founders or CEOs. Plus, you can also add other factor scoring details like the company size. Hey, I only want to work with 50 plus employees or 500 plus employees. Obviously, you can do that inside your scoring criteria. Then service offering, the tech stack that they are using. In case you want to have any intent, you can also go with their revenue or their growth signals like hiring or increase in a headcount. For instance, if a company is doing over 2 million, definitely we want to assign them the maximum points because those companies have the maximum budget and they see ROI at scale. In a similar fashion, if they are actively hiring for editors or motion designers, we want to assign them maximum 10 points as these prospects will be our ideal customer profile. And once we have all of these tiering thresholds and scoring done, we will define the TS system based on the score and strategy. So if they have more than 75 plus score, we want to assign them TN number 1 and so on. And definitely we don't want to work with those companies who are not inside our ICP or ideal customer profile. So if they are falling below 25 points, we are not going to even target and waste our credits and times on those bad leads. And that's why we have this separation before we start finding decision makers working at those companies. Let's say you are skipping this entire step. Now what will happen is, once we have the lead list from Apollo and then we immediately start finding out decision makers in all of those companies and then later find out that hey, these companies or prospects are not ideal customer profile of us, and you will waste all of those credits by finding several different data points like the location, company, LinkedIn profile, their verified emails, and most of the context that you will pull will go to waste. And that's why we have this ICP rubrics that will make sure that we are only spending credits on tier 1 and tier 2 contexts only. I hope you now understand why you need to create your own scoring criteria for a campaign. That way you will able to save so much of the credit, time and any extra effort and energy in future step. Now once your scoring criteria is done, it's time to set up all the documentations for our external tools. Right now we don't know anything about Apollo. We don't know how any API documentation of that cold email tools look like. That's why we are going to create a proper API documentation for both of them. Coming back to our Apollo dashboard, let's open the documentation or knowledge base. Here we have all of the documentation. In a same manner, we want to open the API documentation of that cold email tool. So now let's copy both of them, give it to Claude Code. And the reason why we are creating this documentation upfront and not rather during the chat, because your Claude Code is going to save so much credit and tokens during those sessions. So that's why having proper documentation in place, like in this proper folder structure, will save Claude Code so much time in terms of research, understanding, and it will also mitigate the risk that Claude Code might have, because sometimes it is not able to understand how this API documentation will work and it will tend to make errors or mistakes. But having this proper documentation before in place, and you will see day and night difference in your chat response. Now last but not least thing you need to do is create a email sequence.md file which will have all of your cold email approaches, cold email frameworks that you want to follow. So I will just go to Google and search for Alex Hormoz's cold email templates or any famous guru templates that you are already using. Let's open this. Use the template. Again, I know you can write way better copy than this, but as you know, this video is not about how to write the best cold email copies, but this video is about how to set up your AI cold email campaign. So let's copy them, add this to Claude Code and tell it to create your copy frameworks that you want to use. And there you go, you're done with your GTM outbound setup. Now last thing, in case you want to add, this is optional. If you have any prior successful cold email campaigns, you can take that as a reference and provide that as an example so that Claude Code will understand, hey, this is what you're looking for, this is what you like, and these were the results that you have achieved in the past. Alright, now it's time to test our whole pipeline. So we want to find 25 video editing agencies in USA having 25 or 20 plus employees. This is our step number 1, which is building the company lead list. As you can see, it is reading the documentation of Apollo in order to fetch 25 companies in USA having more than 20 plus employees. Awesome. As you can see, it is running the 25 company Apollo enrichment. 25 collected on the first page. Let me see them. And it will display to us. Here we have the clean summary. And as you can see, it will automatically create those CSV files in order to store all of our data. We have the employee count, the industry, keywords, there we go, it has found 25 video editing production agencies and have saved inside our companies.csv file. Here is the preview of them. We have their industry, employee count, and the company name. Then the next step in the pipeline is scoring these companies with our ICP rubrics. I will read the criteria and score all 25. And as you can see, it is using Python library to score all of these companies for us. That way you can score this for 10,000, maybe 1 lakh companies without you having to spend any single penny on API calls. And there we go, it has done with the scoring. So in tier number 1, we have 14 companies, tier 2, 8 companies. And it has also shown us the name, how it has risen through the judgment and scoring, the service offering, company size, the tech stack. And now it's time to find those decision makers working at this top tier 1 company. Find decision makers at tier 1 companies. Obviously this is the demo example and that's why I'm just using 25 companies, but when you're running a real campaigns, it will have 10,000 companies and it will work just the same without any error. And that's why using Claude Code as a GTM partner will enhance your productivity for your campaigns without any error or mistakes. Awesome. So it is using find context to enrich 5 candidates per company using our Apollo credits. So we have 14 companies, it has found 14 decision makers with all verified emails. Definitely I will not show you the emails. Let me blur this out and there we go. We have the company name, the contact details, the title and their verified email address. And not to forget, all of this data is going to be stored inside context.csv file so that you can always refer that back when you need. Now once we are happy with our results, it's time to write hyper-personalized copies for each of these individuals. We want to have our 4-step sequence with merge text. Now at any stage, in case you want to change anything in your workflow, obviously just tell Claude Code what you want in plain English and it will modify the workflows for you. Awesome, it is done with the email copy. So it is a 4-step sequence, and for the merge text, it has used the personalized line, current tool that they are using, and their service type. So each and every single copy will be unique to each prospect, and that way we are not triggering or spamming cold email copies, and we are making sure that hey, we want to have an actual conversation with the prospect, and that way you will have maximum durability and chance of reaching to the main or primary folder and not spam folders. Now last but not least step inside our workflow is adding all of these prospect and their email copies inside our cold email tool. So let's create a new sequence this time. Let's name this as demo for tilted. Then copy this name and say deploy to this sequence. You can see it is reading our API documentation of Saleshandy, and that's why creating proper documentation in place before even starting your campaign will help you so much time in your conversation, even in your Claude token and credits. It is right now creating 4-step sequence and importing all of these prospects inside our sequencer. And there we go, it has added all of our prospects and email copy inside our new campaign. So we have merge tags, subject line, the email body with the different steps according to specific days we want. That's how you can build a cold email pipeline just by using simple prompt using Claude Code with this proper folder structure. Now I know I haven't talked about this 2 point yet, which is setting up your cold email infrastructure, which is buying domains and setting up mailboxes in them, and pulling up analytics, which is knowing what is your bounce rate, open rate, reply rate in your campaigns. For my cold email infrastructure, I'm using Maildoso, that is managing all of my domains, mailboxes and warm-ups all in one dashboard. And the best part is I can easily connect this inside Claude Code by using Maildoso API key, and that way I can manage my entire infrastructure inside my Claude Code without even opening the dashboard once. And the best part about using AI inside a cold email campaigns is to pull all the analytics. So it is not just pulling numbers, it is actually understanding that hey, this is where we are lacking, this is what we need to do, and this is how you can fix this. Let me show you one example on how you can analyze your campaigns with AI. Let me copy this sequence, go back to Claude Code, analyze this campaign. From these data points, you can create custom dashboard, custom reports for your clients in case you are running a lead generation agency. And here we have the analytics. So we have our prospect deliver 100% since our email durability is maximum with 0 bounces. These were the open rates, reply rates. Obviously, I have turned off the click-through rates, that's why it is showing 0. So make sure you have set up this workflow or pipeline before you even start operating your outbound campaigns, and have this .Claude folder structure in place so that you have smooth and efficient outbound campaigns. Now let me talk about why this pipeline or process is going to beat your Clay tables. Now the first problem with Clays is quite expensive, like seriously expensive. And when you are running 10,000 or even 100k companies, it's going to cost you a lot. But in our example, when we are scoring companies, we are using Python scripts that will run our own rubrics or own scoring metrics. So it does not matter if it has 10 companies or 10,000 companies, it is going to run with the same accurate data and is completely free. Whereas in Clay, you have to apply those Boolean if and else condition, and most of the times it is going to have inaccurate data, or you have to use GPT or Claude API, which is going to cost you with every single API call. In a similar manner, when you are generating copies, you can use an existing Claude plan without any API billing, whereas in clay.com it will run through external API per row and you have to pay every single time with each generation. And how you operate with our pipeline is just by using simple prompt. You don't need to know anything about GTM or any prior experience on running cold email campaigns. Whereas in Clay, you first of all need to understand Clay tables, how you can set up the enrichment, Boolean filters and multiple other things. And the best part about this workflow is you don't need to use Clay anywhere. So you don't need to pay those $395 per month just to get that webhook and API access of Clay. But now let me talk about pricing of Apollo and Saleshandy. For Apollo, it starts from $59 to around $149 per month. It depends totally on your use case and how many credits you are consuming. And for Saleshandy, which is our cold email tool, it costs around $70 to send 150k emails per month, which is more than enough if you are just getting started. And obviously, our Claude subscription will start from $20 to $200. So if you want me to make more lead gen and outreach videos like this, drop a like, leave a comment and subscribe for more. I will see you in the next one.